A legacy, the first in a classical series of men's devotionals, depicts characters of men from the Bible who represent men of today. Some succeeded while others failed. There are those who were strong yet some were weak. There is the spiritual and carnal. Kings, rulers, princes, and patriarchs, all of whom men can identify with. They all left a legacy, whether it was positive or negative. What is your legacy? The lessons Jacob learned from giving favoritism to one of his many children is our devotion today. Jacob might have thought he was over the worst of his trials, but he would soon learn there were more to come. Though he was the father of more than 13 children, he did not learn from his father's error of loving one child more than the others. 1 out of 2 is not as bad as 1 out of 13 or more. Jacob's partiality had repeated history. Consequently, he put Joseph's life in danger, suffered from his absence, and lost out of the most formative years in his life. There are no justifiable reasons for loving one child more than others, particularly if they have different mothers. It sends a negative message to the less loved children. It causes emotional and physical abuse, animosity, and hatred. It can also leave permanent emotional scars that can psychologically affect them as adults. The Bible states that Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. His brothers did not like to be in his presence, they abused him verbally and physically. He became a talebearer, which worsened their resentment toward him and excluded him from their company, which would probably have made him a lonely child. Added to their resentment of Joseph was his obedience and non-participation in the vices of his older brothers. Despite the treatment from his brothers, Joseph loved them and most of the time wanted their friendship, only to be rejected. Their animosity and hatred for him finally festered into a murderous plot against him. They did not consider the sadness and anguish it would cause Jacob their father, they just wanted him out of the way. There were no excuses for their behavior, since they were older than him and should have been a good example. At the most important time in Joseph's life, Jacob was deprived of seeing his son mature into manhood. He was deprived of witnessing his son's spiritual and physical development. He was not given the privilege advising him on life's decisions. He was not able to choose a wife or prepare a marriage feast for him. His favoritism had only caused Joseph anguish and grief. Fortunately, before his death, Jacob was finally reunited with Joseph and he was able to enjoy what little time he had left with Joseph and his children. It might not have been your intention to love one child more than the others, and you might not have thought it would affect the others, but it did. Today, you have the opportunity to let your children know how much you love them. They might not all have the same characteristics, but they are your children who need the assurance that you love them. It will make their lives more pleasant and can determine whether they will be achievers or failures. If you have displayed favoritism among your children and have experienced similar results, learn a lesson from Jacob today. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. Proverbs 3 verse 27.